What else is going on? Anything? Nothing?
There's
I don't know.
some other content, I'm sure. The Smashing Pumpkins just released another new album, a third act. That's content.
Yeah. What's it called?
It's called Atum Act 3.
Wow.
It's a triple album.
That's like when you have really bad indigestion, right? You need a tum.
Yeah, you need a tum. Yeah.
A tum or three.
Welcome to Accelerativ Thrust. I'm Dan.
And I'm Eric.
And today we are going to be interviewing a really cool dude by the name of Thomas Parkinson. And he has this project called Disholy. But I didn't realize he was also in Lord Green.
Yeah, I didn't either, really. That's cool.
I think I saw Lord Green once, a long time ago. And I'm actually kind of psyched to ask him about this Lord Green thing. And also the other thing, too, is it says Disholy is active, but it doesn't say anything about Lord Green being active. So is Lord Green active or is it not? It's one of those mysteries that we're going to have to ponder and he's going to have to answer.
Oh, man. Hope he's ready. Should we bring him in?
Yeah, let's bring him in. Let's bring Thomas in.
Okay, here he comes. I wonder if Thomas can hear us.
I wonder.
I hear you.
Hey, Thomas, how you doing?
Good. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, thanks
absolutely.
for dealing with all our schedule stuff.
Hey,
yes,
life happens, and I'm no sweat off my sack.
Yeah.
So, sorry. How vulgar can I be? And can I swear?
You can do anything you want.
Anything you want, yes.
Yeah, one time someone peed while smoking weed on here, so
that's funny. That must have been
who was it? John Burns from
I love that guy.
Centaur.
Yeah. I looked up to him so much in the Quad Cities. He was in that band Meth and Goats, and they were just like, I mean, I still value their music to be super rad. You know, I listen to it regularly. I like even like his solo stuff is cool. Like it's I didn't see that coming, and it's cool how he briefly collabed with like Corey and Molly from Close Witch. They call like Baby Noir. That was rad.
Yeah, that was cool.
Dennis is super rad too with the whole Id Noir. No, Id Pyramid. I'm sorry, excuse me.
Yep.
Yeah, but now he's in Running Man. And
he's doing Running Man. Okay.
Yeah, he plays drums in Running Man. That band is super cool.
Nice.
But yeah, John Burns peeing and smoking weed, my man.
I think he was just trying to push the boundaries a little bit. So
I think.
Oh yeah.
Nailed. I can't beat that.
Yeah. Dan has all kinds of questions.
Yes. Well, let's actually start there with the Quad Cities since we're talking about your influences. That kind of would be actually a good segue into what was going to be my first question anyway. Can you give a little history on like sort of your interest in music, your involvement in the Quad City scene? What led to Disholy, and also I saw that you were in Lord Green. I actually saw Lord Green. It was a long time ago, probably 2009 or something like that. Were you in the band then?
I've always been in the band.
You've always been in the band. Okay.
Yeah.
Because there were some lineup changes in that, correct?
Yeah, I guess there was a weird middle part where I was the only original member. But then more recently, there's been some, like since I've moved to Nebraska, I've gotten together Jamie. This is still years ago at this point, but later than 2009, probably early 2010s. Not 2010s, but like 2012, 2013, 2014. We did some like weekends and stuff like that. And Jamie, the bass player, was back in and doing his thing. And he's also in Running Man. But,
cool.
So, I mean, Running Man is just stacked.
Right.
So like, Pat Stolley, who has just been like
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Pat Stolly plays bass in that band. And,
Is he's affiliated with like Future Apple Tree and
correct,
stuff like that, right? Okay, yeah.
That's his recording studio. And Chad Gooch as well, who was in the band Humans, and Chad wrote my favorite Human song called Silver Moon.
Yes.
It's got a really cool tap on, tap off kind of riff. And yeah, like I said, everyone that I don't know the singer, but that's like the most famous dude. Apparently he's like the singer for the Dead Kennedys currently. So
Right.
he's not it's not Jello Biafra, but he's still singing with the Dead Kennedys, so respect. Yeah.
That's so weird because I just saw an article today that they're going back on tour, their first show since D.H. Peligro passed away.
Yeah. That's too bad. I follow like guitar oriented YouTube outlets from time to time, and there's this one called Premier Guitar, and they do like rig rundown.
Yeah.
And they did East Bay Ray, and I was like, that was so he like his rig was so sparse. I was just like, I was very impressed. Yeah. I like that kind of simplicity. But also that was the last tour with that drummer. So I pay more attention to stringed instrument players than I do percussionists.
Sure. I just found out today that East Bay Ray, I guess, used you probably already knew this, Eric, used a space echo for most of his tone.
The Echolux or whatever.
Echoplex.
Yeah.
Echoplex, I believe it is.
Yeah.
I can't imagine touring with that. That's ridiculous.
No, yeah. Unbelievable.
But they didn't have delay pedals like I do. Like I'm looking at like 4 of them.
Yeah.
and they're all smaller than an Echolux. So
yeah, sure.
I've actually never seen an Echolux in the flesh until the new Future Apple Tree, the one that's down by the Rostocks. Pat's got one, and he's got all sorts of sweet gear because he's just he's got a real good eye for that. But when I walked up to it, I was just like a little flutter in my heart. I was like, that's it. Like that's that's the robot that made those sounds that you've heard on every recording before, IC chips were invented. So
yeah. It's awesome. So Disholy, correct me if I'm wrong, but that is, or at least started out as a solo project, correct?
Correct. It is a solo project.
Okay.
I briefly flirted with the idea of having a live band. It just didn't work out for a variety of reasons, and so it was just at that point, I don't know. It's even in a solo project, it's a difficult thing to do, and having just to get 3 other dudes in the same room and align with each other, and it was just one of those things. It's a difficult thing, and a lot of respect to everyone that has full bands and they can make it happen. But I'm not against the idea of having a full band. I'm kind of flirting with the idea of putting the second one together. But I feel like as long as everyone's intentions for the project are on the same page, then that's one of the most important things. I value recording. I feel like I've just put out my whole life, and every project I've been in, the recording process has been rushed and done on a budget. And not that those are bad things, those kind of inspire creativity as well, but I just really never even had a recording that I was got to go back and double guitars, or just well, I don't like my guitar tone, let's spend some more time on that. It's pretty much is the microphone passing signal good, let's roll. And so that's what I value in terms of if I'm going to play with other people, that's kind of that's kind of how I want to approach it moving forward. And I've got a couple individuals that I'm it's an idea, it's a seed is planted. But as far as the first formation of a live band, it just kind of spun out of control in a different direction that I really wasn't comfortable in contributing to. So, and all great dudes. I still, really good friends of mine. It's just some people just can't be in a band together. That's fine. It's totally fine. So
So the Opt Out single, that was recorded with more of a full band. Is that accurate?
Actually, just a live drummer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
cool.
That was pretty much the only thing that's been a variation from my regular formula. Cool. Dan Harvey is a fantastic drummer. He played in a band called Hercules from here, and that's something that when Lord Green would go on tour, we'd bump into them in various parts of the Midwest, and fantastic drummer.
Cool.
He lived in Fairfield for a handful like a couple of years, I think. But when he moved back, I didn't even know he was back in town. He just hit me up out of the blue after I did Twisted Finger of Fate. So let's get together, and he's got a couple other projects coming out too. So that's an individual to look out for.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. You're the Opt Out 7-inch and Ultra 12-inch that you just released, by the way. Absolutely menacing stuff, man. I really dug it a lot. And one of the things that I kind of really enjoyed about it is there was this sort of like lingering noise that was happening at the end of like almost every track that I really enjoyed. And it kind of reminded me of like almost like, I don't know, Eric, you may be able to speak to this a little more, but it kind of reminded me a little bit more of like like an industrial sort of thing. Was it your intention to kind of bring those types of sounds and that kind of feel to this project? Or is it more you just kind of, this might be kind of a weird way to word this question, but do you just kind of, I guess, feel out a song, like kind of just go into it and just sort of write it, and then it kind of just comes out? Like, I guess to make a question much shorter and more simple, what is your writing process like for Disholy? I'm so sorry.
I was gathering that. I mean, first and foremost, like the actual like meat and potatoes of the songs are fleshed out. Basically, it starts in a riff in my living room. I have one of those cute little like orange half stacks and sit on the couch with my dogs and put on Godzilla movies. And I just let whatever happens. And if it makes the cut, then I take it down to the basement where all the real gear's at. And I start hashing it out with my drum processing software. And but like all the real, like, I don't want to say like the in-between stuff isn't real music, but like that stuff comes secondary after I've already fleshed out like the guitars, the bass, sometimes even the vocals are done at that point. I don't know, that's kind of a fluid process. But I mean, I have a certain, I'm a gearhead. I love gear. Slowly acquiring more and more and more. It's going to be a bad habit in the future. And when I pass, someone's going to have a big problem on their hands. But I just love weird noise making stuff, and as many delay and distortion pedals I have, like I've got some real funny stuff in the arsenal, and like, you know, like a MIDI controller, and I don't know. It's always been a kind of a learning process with Disholy, and it's fun for me to like just, you know, click on an audio sampler I haven't tried yet or something like that. And does it sound good? Does it sound bad? How's it sound in the mix? And but yeah, I mean, as far as why I have those parts between songs, man, I fucking love White Zombie. And man, and like that, those recordings, I won't speak to the Rob Zombie as an individual because just truly I don't care for that. But those recordings, before I saw anything, it was just White Zombie. Like that was the band. And yeah, man, like the beginning of Electric Head Part 1, like it's just stuff like that where I'm just like, how can I rip that off? Right. Yeah, how can I rip that off? It's like that good artist borrow but great artist steal. Like that kind of stuff. And every now and then I float, you know, want to get in like steal like Terrence McKenna samples or something like that. But I don't think that's truly my style, is to like, I don't want to commit to someone else's words. So, but yeah, I mean, and that's like I said, meat and potato. I kind of figure out song order, and then I just pour myself a nice tall glass of whiskey, and we're getting, you know, and it's never done in one session. Like a lot of that stuff is a little bit at one time. Listen to a mix, not a mix, but listen to like a rough draft of it. Come back. You know, like, oh, we maybe can do something a little funny over here and do something like that. And plus, I just love electronic music. Like, I'm not like an active fan, but like I appreciate it. So when Daft Punk broke up, that was one of the saddest days of the pandemic for me.
That happened during the pandemic?
Yeah, dude.
Wow.
Yeah. As if like being locked inside. I wish it was as if being locked inside wasn't bad enough. Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, like, because they did like those live tours like every 10 years. And they didn't do one in 2017, and I was just like, "This is not good news." As like a closet electronic music listener, I was just like, "That was a bucket list one that really hurt."
Yeah, it sucks when people have been playing pretty consistently, even if there are big gaps, they still go out, and you think, oh, I'll always have a chance to see them, and then you don't. Yeah, I've had that happen.
Yeah.
So
I learned my lesson.
Yeah, go see them now, right? So anyone that uses electronics or has electronic elements, and we interview them, I always have one question for them, and what we were talking about leads directly to that. As far as your electronic gear, say synths, drum machines, sequencers, things like that, are you mostly in the box, or do you have like hardware, or do you use a combination of things, or what?
As far as like the actual percussion for like the actual songs, that's all in the box. Yeah, I actively seek out samples and loops and stuff like that. That's been like a new hobby of mine. It seems like that, and I'm not a percussionist. When I sit behind a drum kit, I feel stupid, or I should say more stupid than I already am. And but as far as like everything else, that's all outside the box, and lots of times like I'm sending it through a distortion pedal, or it's going into a guitar amp and getting mic'd. That's for sure what's happening. I do have the MIDI stuff, like I said, that I guess, yeah, that would be in the box as well. But sometimes I'll find myself reamping it. Like I just don't want to. I don't use in box reamping stuff, or what's it called? I use PreSonus Studio One, so like Amplitude, or what's it called? Amplitude is like their modeler. I don't mess with that. That. I just like the sound of the speaker just fucking, giving you the beans. And I have like a crappy synth that I borrowed from my girlfriend's dad, and it's like one of those ones where you got like everything. You have like 117 different patches to choose from, and it's all really crappy, but through a distortion pedal.
Sure. Yeah.
I have a couple like arpeggiator pedals. I've got like a bunch of octave pedals, and I've got enough stuff to keep myself busy for a long time. But
which arpeggiator do you have? The Arpanoid or something like that?
I made my own. That's a clone of the Death by Audio robot.
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah. I also have like I like messing with like PLL clones. Like I have the Earthquake or some Data Corruptor.
Oh sure, yeah.
Those things are crazy.
Nice.
Those are fun to play with.
It's every time I play it, I can't. It's one of those things. Like once I get a sound, I gotta track it right then and there, because even if I don't touch any knobs, I'll come back to it and turn it on. It sounds completely different.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like I have no idea what's going on now, but I'm building a clone of that right now too, and it's definitely one of the more challenging builds I've done in a minute. But that's what it is.
That's awesome. So you recorded with a live drummer for these two new releases, correct?
Just for opt out.
Just for opt out. Okay, so everything else is digital drums, electronic drums. Okay.
Yep. Sampled, looped.
Despite the fact that you don't have a band together, are you still maybe planning on doing like solo live shows at all, or do you think you're going to keep this more of just a like an at-home project?
I'm open to putting together like a live band. I think it's gonna be one of those processes. Like I mentioned too, my focus is recording, but I'm not totally opposed to doing a live gig, like maybe for like a record release, or Metallica comes to town and they say we want the worst band in Omaha.
We were just talking about how they just released their, well, I don't know if they just released it, but they're going to be releasing their new album this week.
Dude, Metallica is just the biggest disappointment in my life, because I mean they probably I grew up like learning like not full songs but just Metallica riffs, like intros and things like that, and that's kind of how I formed a lot of my early technique. So Metallica was naturally my favorite band for that period of my life. But I'll never forget like the summer between junior and senior year. It was like a couple days after school ended, and we were just having parties, and I got caught drinking underage, and it was a totally hilarious situation where we just weren't even trying to be discreet about it. And but I had an appointment the following, so I got arrested, and my parents had picked me up, and they were rightfully mad. And the very next day, I already had an appointment for my old beater car to get a CD player. And I was just like, all right, well, I'm grounded. So they had to honor that, but I was grounded the rest of the summer for sure. So in my mind, I was like, I'm gonna pick up a CD, and that's just really gonna like help me mentally through this period of getting grounded, and man, I wish it wasn't Saint Anger. Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
Jesus. You want to make a bad summer even worse. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's enough to kill any vibe, man. Listening to Saint Anger.
It's a miracle. It's a miracle I'm here right now.
Sure. Yeah. That was a rough one, man. I do not understand why that album got okay, but the documentary about it, revolving around it, the Some Kind of Monster, one of the greatest band documentaries ever, just because it shows you exactly what you probably shouldn't do as a band, whether you're famous or not.
I felt humiliated watching it.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I felt like, not my humiliation. Like, I felt humiliated for all those individuals.
Yeah.
I was like, damn. I mean, the coolest part about it, though, is like Rob Trujillo crab walking on his bed, learning riffs.
Yeah.
And they were like, here's $1 million. And it was like, well, shit.
He was like jumping up and down. I also liked how Jason Newsted totally ghosted them because they deserved it.
Yeah.
Straight up, 100%.
I wish I have a lot of respect for Jason Newsted. Through the 6 degrees of separation, I always mention this. I hate telling other people's stories, but this one's a good one. One time, like my homie Jamie from Lord Green, I was talking about earlier, who's a running man now. He like lived in Jupiter, Florida that's his hometown. And he went back and spent some time there, and he worked at a record store. And that's also where Mr. Newsted is from.
Wow.
Or at least from that area. But one time Newsted came in, about a shit ton of, it was like right after he recently came into his position. And I guess probably not at that point, but yeah, Jamie sold him a bong and a bunch of records, and I was like, fuck yeah, he smokes bongs, he's just like me. Like, yeah, he's a real person.
I promise this will be my last Metallica affiliated question. I just have to know, Thomas, what's your favorite album?
Jesus, dude.
Lulu?
I actually haven't given that one a spin because of Saint Anger. Like, Saint Anger pissed me off so bad. I really haven't listened to any full Metallica efforts since then. And I you know, I'm a first four kind of person, but I will say that, I mean, Black Album's not bad. Every now and then I hear one, I cut off that, and I'm just like, maybe I'm so jaded for how bad the new shit is, but like I hear one off Black Album, I'm just like, you know what? That rips, like Of Wolf and Man and Holier Than Thou, and I'm just like, okay, I think I was, you know, but I mean, it's definitely different, as it should be if they want to progress as artists. I use that term loosely, but I mean, the first four, man, I mean, they're in their prime. I mean, they're intellectually, you know, they're not jaded by influences and reviews and the spoils that go along with that. And I mean, obviously they started making stadium bangers because that's what really like juiced the pockets. And that's a very human fault to succumb to. So whatever. Would I do anything different? Yeah, I'd say fuck all your money. I'm gonna do my shit in my basement. It's called Disholy. Yeah. I don't want to live band. Yeah. No, I don't want to play stadiums. Yeah, no. I mean, Metallica's sick though. I mean, I'm not a hater by any means. There's Metallica that I like, and there's Metallica that I just don't pay attention to. Yeah. And that goes with every band. There's Slayer that I like, and there's Slayer I don't pay attention to. There's Beatles that I like, and there's Beatles that I don't like. You know, yeah. So.
I also wanted to ask you. I thought this was really interesting on the questionnaire when you were asked about the other local artists that you kind of wanted to shout out. I noticed that you have a couple of MCs listed, Static Soul and Chill Mac. And it's, you know, I actually hear, believe it or not, I hear a lot of hip hop influence in what you do. That might sound kind of weird, but has hip hop been a part of your musical vocabulary as well?
No, it hit me pretty late, not until like my early 20s. I'm 37 now, so I've been out of my 20s for a minute. Yeah, I used to hate rap music. I used to like not respect it. I was like, this is horseshit. But when I first moved, not when I first moved, but when I lived outside the Quad Cities, I didn't live directly in the Quad Cities. But when I as I hung out in the Quad Cities over the years, I moved in with some roommates that like just loved like Project Pat, all the 3.6, like that kind of stuff. And through that, I found out, started listening, I always liked Dr. Dre. Like 2001 came out when I was in high school, I think. Yeah, high school. And like that was probably like the one that I was like, oh, okay, I got my foot in the door.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. I just think it's wild. I want to shout out Static Soul's Jacob Adams, and Chill Mac is Dom. I don't know his last name, but he's from Des Moines. But they kind of like they work together from time to time, and like they're both like not just like hip hop artists, like they're kind of like have a producing element. And I've been fortunate enough to Static Soul lives here in my hometown currently, Omaha, and I've just kind of been able to come be a fly on the wall, hang out. He invites some homies over. They bring some samples, and everyone brings their gear, like everyone brings their gear. I show up with a bass guitar like a total dork, and but it's interesting. Like someone's like, I heard this track, and so they like Jacob will like they'll send him the track. He'll put it into a sampler. All of a sudden, he just goes puts his headphones on, and you're not talking to him for 20-25 minutes. He's just chopping it up. Then like all of a sudden turns around and is like, okay, I got something. Then another homie will step up and do like a little bit of percussion. Someone else will step up and do something like that. I've only been over there a handful of times, but it's been a really interesting and inspiring way to like look at production as it goes. And because usually it's just me in my dark basement making loud, angry music, and to see like what I would say like a super inclusive, well lit environment. So, but I mean, it's rad to see that different. Jacob's, I'm sitting on some tracks for Disholy that Jacob's on. He's on one of them. Like I've got 2 7-inches that I'm going to release by the end of the year, and then I'm done until 2024. But Jacob's on. He used to be in a band in the here in Omaha called Jocko, which was like the best way I could describe it. It's pretty much just like it's hardcore with a lot of rage against the machine, but it's not like they're not trying to copy Rage Against the Machine. It's just kind of like one of those. That's how it turned out. Yeah, and sure. but it's like very hardcore. There's fast parts, and I mean, yeah, Static Soul he's got a message to say. Like the he's an intense individual behind the microphone. Like it's inspiring and terrifying all at the same time. So,
yes. Speaking of intense and terrifying, you also listed Black Blag on there.
Oh yeah, are you familiar?
I love Black Blag, like love. So when I saw that, I was like, I got to see him a couple times, and it's intense. You feel a little intimidated. And as far as like kind of old school industrial, I don't know, it's right there. It's perfect.
I mean, I grew up in the country outside the Quad Cities, so there weren't a lot of leather daddies in my atmosphere. Right? I've met Ross before. I don't know him terribly well, but he's always been incredibly polite, super nice. I didn't know this when I moved to Nebraska, but there's like a grind band that he was in previously called Wastoid, and they just fucking slay.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, I think I have too.
Yeah,
Wastoid. So I mean, if you haven't, give it some attention. So
nice.
That's cool. I mean, it's fun to like. I mean, I haven't moved out of my. This is the only time I've ever moved out of the Quad Cities, and I intend on staying here. And it's just fun to like move here and like kind of like soak up, do musical history as to who's who, and this and that. And there's Nebraska's not like overflowing with stuff that this side of Saddle Creek Records, but that's when I was made aware of like Omaha, but right. I'm not really into that indie rock stuff, so respect, but that's like the Metallica I don't like.
Yeah.
Speaking of labels, Vexed Brain Enterprises, are you involved in that, or is that someone else's project that you just hooked up with, or what's going on?
That's 100% me. Cool. I just felt like honestly, the genesis for it was I didn't ever intend on putting Disholy as like out on a record label or anything like that. But there's this young crew, the new guard. There's this young crew of kids that are doing like just power violence, DB, like crusty stuff here in Nebraska or Eastern Nebraska. I'm not sure what's happening in Western Nebraska because Lincoln's like an hour away. So like that's college town. But I've just been so impressed with what's going on, and they remind me of myself when I was younger, like, you know, like, and I just told them, I was like, yo, get a recording together. I'll put out a tape. And it's wild. It's wild. And so I was like, okay, if I'm going to put their tape out, I might as well just put a name on it. And that's how I can handle my affairs moving forward with Disholy. And it's also one of those things too, where it's like, I've been building pedals now for a year and a half, close to 2 years. And I need some sort of mask umbrella over the top of that, I guess, or something to name it. So you know, for me, it's just a simplicity thing. I was like, I'm not just gonna sell records, I'm gonna sell guitar pedals. So
cool.
That's I don't know, how many passwords can you remember for all your different accounts? Right. It really boils down to that. Yeah,
good call.
So
well, I might have to hit you up about some pedals. I love pedals,
dude. I'm about to drop my first one. I'm excited. This is like my V3 of my prototype, but I've designed a few pedals that I really haven't, aside from giving them to friends, I really haven't done anything with them. But this one, I was like, okay, I got something here. And I got in touch with a company that can get most of the legwork done for me. I still have to do a bunch of stuff once I actually get my PCBs. But yeah, circuit designing and just really like just trial and error. Like not every pedal I build has been fantastic. And it's like, oh, what didn't I like about that? What did I like about that? And figure out what aspects control that. And I've been able to weed it down to like this one. Yeah.
So what's that one do?
It's basically like an overdrive with like multiple clipping options. So you can send it through like germanium or silicone or anything like, you know, something like that into an octave fuzz.
Nice.
Yeah. And you can also switch the order of them. So you can go the fuzz into the overdrive or vice versa. Really, I mean, really however you want to do it. I basically just want to make the most wild sound I can make.
Yeah.
And use it for like solos, intros. Like this isn't like I wouldn't use both functions of this pedal. I'd use the overdrive function like for when I track the rhythm tracks and stuff like that. But it's definitely something like when you want to do like cool little guitar solos or in between stuff or throw a synth through it. Like if you want to hear something. So
yeah, super hard clipped octave fuzz doesn't get too much crazier than that, in my opinion.
Yeah,
it's just like machinery breaking. You know, it's like beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and that's when the crappy Yamaha keyboard really comes. You know, shows its teeth. And you're like, okay, yeah, like I don't know, I like making weird sounds, so that's just part of the gig, I guess. But,
yeah. I think when you listen to Disholy, you can definitely tell that it's written by somebody who's interested in gear. Like that's kind of one of the first things that I, like kind of noticed while listening to it. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is I really like the art aesthetic. I've noticed that there's kind of a like the 7 inches look sick, and the covers and everything. I kind of wanted to ask you sort of what your ideas were about the direction of the art for Disholy.
I've used different artists for every single release, but I do like the simplicity of, or the continuity, the simplicity and the continuity of it. I mean, I screen print every single cover myself by hand. I had job screen printing when I was younger, and I just feel like there's other bands that I've witnessed like keep continuity like throughout the releases that I really appreciated, and I wanted to just like kind of pay homage to it. Really, first and foremost is like Weekend Nachos. They always had the same kind of like layouts and stuff like that, and I really respected that. I respect those individuals. I'm glad to glad to know them, but it was like one of those things that I like that. I think that's kind of where the hardcore aspect of it is. It's like I like, the KISS method, keep it simple, stupid. Like that is, and I mean, and I do screen print everything myself, so it's not like I really want to have to like do things that are above and beyond when it comes to that actual act as well. But yeah, basically I just I source my art. I pay all my artists that do it. I find them through some very interesting methods. Yeah, I'm very happy with them as well. I like making the records. Like I think the records are secondary to the actual recording. Like I like them to be something you can like look at and like hold and be like, okay, this was touched by a human and manipulated in certain ways. And then, they've got nothing to do with the music, but it's like, it's cool to have I feel like the records are a piece of art in themselves.
Yes.
If anything, I just want to convey the message like, oh, I took the music serious enough that I actually did something secondary to it. And I do everything myself. I screen print every single piece of everything myself. And I love it. It's cool. I'm like literally presenting like a little art piece for my dumb little recordings. And I think that's the value in it.
You have any visual artists that you're specifically influenced by?
Oh yeah, man. Neckface, the graffiti artist. That guy's rad. He did like a lot of the graffiti art you'll see in like Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Oh no, it was Skate 2. It was Skate 2.
Oh, okay.
But he's like a graffiti artist that's like world renowned. I'm sure if you do look up Neckface in the future, you're gonna see something like, oh, I'm well aware of that. That's very cool. Sure, I like the graffiti artist Space Invader. I think that's rad. I have a friend, Brian Brain, who does not a Space Invader thing, but it's definitely an installment type thing, where he's a tile setter, and he uses like offcuts and remnants and makes mountain ranges out of them, like picturesque mountain ranges, and then he applies them liberally, from time to time, or even just sells individual pieces. And I love that. I think that's super cool. My friend that drew the second Disholy cover, Immolator, 1000 Beans, his name's Drew York, childhood friend of mine. He paints mural. He lives in Milwaukee. He paints murals and just does all sorts of really cool stuff. And I mean, it's interesting. Every now and then I've like been able to witness like through social media, like his work process and how he like sketched something out on an iPad. And then a couple months later, I'll see like a picture of him like on a lift, painting it on a wall and everything that's filled in between. And that's very inspirational.
That's cool that you're able to keep that sort of within a circle of friends or people that that you're influenced by the artists that you know personally, so that way you're able to like also work with them too. That's
just that record. I the other records I have, that has just been like artists that I've like kind of lurked their profiles and stuff on Instagram and just kind of
gotcha.
Yeah, but I mean, like I definitely go through more stuff that I don't ever want to like look at again, but then I find something that I like. Right. So
sure.
Yeah, the ultra drawing is pretty amazing as well.
Yes,
I like that a lot.
I thought it was rad as fuck. I was like, yep, I slept on that one for a minute, and I was just like, cause the recording wasn't ready yet, and I came back to the artist. Morbid Dusk, actually, that's who it is. Morbid Dusk on Instagram. Cool. MORBIDUSK. No double D in that. But that artist is phenomenal. But thank you. I've got a lot of comments on that album cover specifically, and that was fun to screen print. It was just nice to like do that final push and like flip the screen and just see it just minty, and it's just like it's just all over the place. And I feel like that art, like in many ways, like really represented how I felt about the record. And I was just like, I think it was just a nice meeting of the two worlds together.
Cool. Yeah. So everything else is on lathe cut vinyl, is that right? Or for the most part?
Everything's on lathe cut. Yep.
Yeah. Is that
so far
like a long like processing time for that? Like the wait time on those?
No.
Okay.
I mean, these recent records, they just through like, well, first off, never order anything before South by Southwest. Yeah, in that first quarter. Yeah, but they were a couple weeks longer than they were previously. But I mean, usually it's like a 2, 3, 4 week turnaround.
Oh, nice.
And I mean, I'd like to press vinyl, but vinyl you have like minimum order before you can hit the. Yeah, is like if you want to, if you want to buy 100 records and on vinyl, you can't sell them for costs. You can't do that, and so you have to get 300 records, and then unless you are a live band that performs regularly, You aren't going to sell 300 records. And I'm able to do quantities I want. Usually I do less than 50. I'll like some will do 30, some will do like 40, but it just kind of depends. I'm at the point now where I'm tired of represses. Because I'm over it. It's like I'm just going to do a nice little chunk at the beginning. You get what you get. And but yeah, I think lathe cuts are rad. I think, you know, I'm not an audiophile by any means. It's not like I have a pro turntable set up in my house. Like, but I just love hearing it. Like, I'd rather hear it on the record than I would, you know, digital. And like that, when I listen to digital, I'm just like, yeah, it sounds compressed. And even when I listen to like lossless stuff, I'm like, oh, okay. But when I hear it on the actual lathe, I'm like, oh, okay, sick. And I do plan on, so I'm doing 2 7-inches that are going to be lathed by the end of the year. But I've started writing the full length, and that's basically going to be my working project for the rest of the year, and hopefully start recording wintertime. But that's going to be on vinyl.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah. But like real traditional, like melted wax. So, but like most things in my life, who knows? Maybe not. Yeah.
So speaking of no repressing, though, people need to get to Bandcamp and order your records, right?
I appreciate that. I mean, they don't have to, but if they want to.
I think I saw that you were saying like it's running low or something to that effect. So people better get over there.
I don't have many left. I only did 30 of the opt out and ultra. So, and that's just kind of, it is what it is. I mean, I don't know. I think the actual recording is more important than the but you know, that's going to live on forever digitally. But I mean, if not a lot, I don't have a lot of friends that collect records, so that's one of those things. I'm also like, I realize there's a certain persuasion of person that wants to collect a record, so that's why I don't feel the need to order 300 records.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, and wait 6 months for them. I forgot to mention that too. Like the wait time for vinyl is just. I know that there's a lot of new plants popping up and it's getting better, but I don't know, man. I get pissed off when the Amazon guy's like a day late. So
yeah. Always frustrating.
I'm just kidding. But it's just waiting that long. By that time, I've made another record.
Right.
That's how I operate.
Yeah, that's pretty. That's one of the things that you actually answered one of my questions that I was going to ask about. If you were going to keep Disholy to just, you know, like 7-inch EP singles, or if you ever planned on doing a full length. So that's pretty cool to hear that you're planning a full length. I'll be excited to hear that.
I think that's the natural progression of it. I mean, it's all been a learning curve, like learning process, I should say. And I just from acquiring gear, recording gear, more amps, more pedals, building more pedals. I also I don't like build my own guitars, but like I put parts of guitars together. Like I've been playing some aluminum neck guitars lately with like Warmoth bodies and swapping out like pickups, and I don't know. I'm really happy with the sounds I'm making right now, but it's in 2 more months I'm going to be like, let's switch things up, and that's I think there's a progression to it. But I think like, man, right now I think I'm fully prepared to record a very nice sounding full length, and I started writing it, you know, got chunks of songs floating around and starting to like map out drums and stuff like that. But I know that this year I'm hitting people pretty hard with just material, and I don't feel bad about it, but I realize it's like, okay, now I personally as the primary person, I need to make good music. And so yeah, I don't know. I'm getting out of the phase now of packing records and printing t-shirts, and it's like, okay, now it's time to get back to what this all started with. And just like me personally, I hate to call myself an artist, but like just for me personally as like a musician, I'm like, it's time for me to like really get in it, you know? So yeah. And like I feel like everyone now can hear what I'm capable of, like buckle up for like the full roller coaster. Like so I like to like I don't know. It's strange for me to tell people like what the band sounds like to them, but in my head I'm just like, it just sounds like me, and I can't to me, it's just D beat, thrash. That's pretty much all I'd look at it as. But I really want to push some boundaries on the next one, like really weird some people out, and in a good way. But I think that's I just think it's a natural progression for where I'm at personally as a musician. So,
were you in any other bands besides Lord Green, or was it pretty much just Lord Green and then this project?
My first band was with the legend Steve Mall.
Oh, Steve Mall, yes, one of my good friends. I like Dude, Steve Mall a lot.
I love that guy. He's fantastic. Yeah, Steve and I were in Killer Bear, which is kind of like an interesting take on young kids that couldn't play their instruments very well playing botch.
I remember Killer Bear. You guys played Muscatine a few times.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, that's when I met like Corey Peak and that whole squad. And,
the Trendy Bastard days.
Hey, rest in peace, Brian.
Yes,
that,
absolutely.
Love him forever. And everyone. Yeah, if you knew him, you know what I'm talking about. So, but yeah, Corey's awesome. Klaus Witch just played here a couple months ago, month and a half ago. You just killed it. That's one of my favorite bands in the Midwest right now. It blows my mind how people sleep on them, and I'm just like, I don't know, they're up next.
They're getting out there. That's for sure.
Yeah,
100%. Do you have any more questions, Eric?
Well, I mean, this one's kind of an obvious one, and you sort of just said you don't really like to compare yourself to anything, but so I personally hear a lot of things in Disholy, but I would like to know what are some of your major influences, not only with that project, but with everything, and I guess how it relates to Disholy.
Musically, like when I heard Tragedy and like From Ashes Rise, and that led to me like finding like, older D-beat bands like Discharge, I was like, oh, okay, this is something that I definitely want to put some chips in that pot for. I mean, I love that shit. Thrash, new wave of British heavy metal, like a lot of those bands are sick as hell. And my parents were like super conservative growing up. I shouldn't say conservative, but super Christian. And so I was only allowed to like listen to oldies music. So like a lot of Motown stuff just really swings me. Big fan of the Beatles. That was one of the bands I was allowed to listen to. And I don't care if you like them or not. Anyone that disagrees that the Beatles are the best band ever, I don't have much else to say to them. So
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah. If there's a Beatles hater, I'm just like, come on, like they did so much. They walked so everyone else could run.
Right.
So,
pretty much. Yeah.
I don't know. I listen to rap music all the time, man. I love that shit. I think new rap music is inspiring. Like hearing sound, like that's why I get to listen to like crazy sounds. I'm like, who made like what was that? And obviously most of that stuff is done in box, but for me just to kind of like hear something and like how can I peel a layer off that onion and then go home and tone chase, and that's pretty
right.
I like that. I just love hearing new sounds, but I like old prog rock. I really enjoyed your guys' episode on movie soundtracks.
Yeah.
Dude, I want to score film so bad. I think that's like something on my bucket list is I want to do that. And I mean, I like spaghetti western stuff. Like Ennio Morricone is just like that's the big four of Metallica right there. You know what I mean? Like, right? Yeah, he's got a better career. He's got a better discography than Metallica does. But that, I think that's inspiring too. And just stuff like that. If you're not picking up inspiration from things that are outside of your expensive hobby, then you're just kind of that's a very narrow-minded way to go about things. Like so.
I swear I won't mention Earth on every single episode we make. But have you heard the new score by Earth?
Even Hell Has Heroes. Yeah, I have not listened to that yet. But and actually, I haven't been a huge Earth fan, like I should say listener. But they came to Omaha like 6 months ago, and I just knew I had to go see them because they're a legendary band, like just like my previous example of missing what was that band? I forget. But I was like I have to go see Earth, like, and I was just I felt stupid for not listening to them ever, and like that band is just phenomenal, like. Steve Carlson, is that his name?
Dylan
Carlson. Yeah, Dylan Carlson. That dude. Like I just felt. I went home and like looked at my guitar and I picked it up and I felt like I felt like I had 2x4s for fingers. I just could not make a good sound. And yeah.
Well, pretty much any time someone says they like anything twangy or like spaghetti western, but they also like metal, I'm like, check out Earth. You'll love it.
Well, one thing I didn't realize about Dylan Carlson. So I went to the show, blew my mind. It's like that was probably one of the more pure, like, me not being familiar with the band and just being hit with them live for the first time and being just incredibly impressed. And then like the next day, my friend was like, that guy bought the shotgun for Kurt Cobain.
Right.
And I was
just thinking about that.
And I was just like, damn. I was like, fuck, like, how do you live with that? Like that.
Not very well some of the time, it seems. He's had a rough one.
Yeah, once I did my own history, I was like, "Oh, poor guy!" Like that, and I think that's what made that live experience even more for me. I was like, the demons that individual has pushed behind them and managed to seemingly do very well. That's inspiring. Yeah,
for sure.
I hope I don't go down that road, but when I do, I'm gonna look to him for inspiration. So.
There you go.
If not just for the sideburns. No, I'm just kidding.
Dude, he was standing outside the front door of the club when I walked in, and like I'm not that tall. I'm like 5'10", 5'10 and a half when I'm really feeling good. And he was like shoulder height at me, and I was like, damn, that's that dude. I was like,
right.
No, I don't care how tall anyone is, but I in my head, I just like, maybe it's just putting people on a platform from a spectator point of view.
For sure.
I was like, damn, this guy I thought he'd be like 7 foot tall.
Yeah. He's got that Malcolm Young thing happening. Like the guitar looks humongous on him.
When you mentioned growing up in the, this is kind of funny because you just mentioned Closet Witch, and when you mentioned growing up in a strict Christian household and you were limited to what you could listen to, I remember talking to Alex, and I'm not sure if it was Christian, Alex, the guitarist of Closet Witch, and he I don't know if it was yes. I don't know if it was because it was a Christian household, but I think it might have been. He also was not allowed to listen to heavy music until he was like a teenager. So you know what he told me his first CD he ever bought was? You're not going to believe this. Saint Anger.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Wow. And I promise that's the last time I'll talk about Metallica ever on this podcast.
You know what, man? Damn, that makes me feel a lot better about my first CD. My first CD was Ace of Base, The Sign. I think.
Oh, yeah. Solid.
Dude, I was so pissed when they turned out to be like Nazis, or like one of them was a Nazi or some shit like that.
Really? That actually happened?
Wow. I didn't know that.
God, I fucking hate that shit.
What?
Yeah, dude. God, I hate that shit. But I actually, when Alex stayed in town, they stayed the night at my house, and Alex came down here in my basement, and like he and I like are using a lot of the same gear for recording. So I was like, oh, cool. And so it was fun to like kind of, I mean, it's always fun to talk to someone that's like-minded, that's kind of going the same thing too. But yeah, I'm excited for Alex is a phenomenal guitarist, got great tone.
He is. And he's a freaking just mastermind when it comes to like effects. And
it was one of those things where he was asking me these questions, and I was like, oh wow, I need to like brush up, or at least like watch some tutorials. Like he's far more advanced than I'm at this thing. So that was inspirational for me to like, okay, now I can step it up a little bit. And on the next recording, I stole all the shit that he told me.
For sure.
So, yeah.
Hey.
Well, that's how it all works. I'm sure you told him some stuff he had never tried too. So maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably not, but potentially.
All right. So Thomas, your first CD was Ace of Base, The Sign.
Unfortunately so.
Do you remember what your first CD was, Eric?
I was just trying to think of it. It was either the Byrds' Greatest Hits, or I think it might have been Flood by They Might Be Giants. It was one of those two.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a first CD.
Yeah.
So mine was DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. He's the DJ, I'm the rapper.
Hell yeah. Which has the first song on there.
Yes, arguably the first horrorcore song, Nightmare on My Street.
It's solid. It's a solid track.
It really is. It really is.
At least they weren't Nazis. Yeah,
That's true.
Yeah,
That's true. But man, that is because I actually like that song, "The Sign." I think it's kind of a jam. But after telling me that, it does me cube.
Yeah, I was bummed. Yeah, it's not like everyone. I think it's everyone in the band. I think it's just like a member or something like that. But I mean, where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. If you're putting up with it, you're part of it. You know.
Yeah.
I didn't expect to ponder the current whereabouts of Ace of Base in the city.
Yeah. But we ponder a lot of stuff on this podcast sometimes that we're just like, hey, how did we get here?
It's like, hey,
so we learned about Ace of Base and a lot about Ace of Base today. So,
hey Siri, how can I cleanse my guilt from my first CD purchase? And she'd be like, Tom, just put it behind you.
Just put it back.
Oh, dude, it actually fucking happened. I like it. Like, what the fuck?
It actually.
What was the answer?
I don't know. I don't care. What?
Yeah. Because I mean, it's like you already know what to do. Siri doesn't have to tell you what to do. Oh man.
She's gonna like record this podcast and release it right before you.
Damn.
Yeah.
And she's got the name recognition too, so.
Yeah.
Everyone knows Siri.
I'm sorry, guys. Sorry.
Oh man. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast, Thomas.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate all the content you guys have provided previous, and I'm humbled that you guys would just want to listen to me talk about bullshit for as long as I have. So,
and we're humbled to have you. That's for real. So
absolutely. Much. So, where can people, hear your music and everything, Thomas?
Everything is available through like most streaming platforms: Spotify, Apple Music, Bandcamp. How
am I going to find out about these pedals through Vexed Brain? By the way,
I have an Instagram for that.
Okay.
Unfortunately, that's like something I'm probably going to have to build a website for, which I'm not happy about. But just seeing how like Bandcamp handles money and how much of a cut they take from it makes me it's not like I'm making any money in the first place. I'm charging cost for everything. And so by the time Bandcamp takes their chunk of money and PayPal takes their processing fees, I'm like recovering my money. That's just barely after I've screen printed everything, recorded it, done and I'm probably going to have to make a website for Vex Brain. I have an Instagram right now with Vex Brain. It should be pretty easy to find. I think that's going to be where I put a lot of energy while I'm also writing the full length is for Disholy, is doing that kind of thing. I've got my first order of pedals due here in a couple weeks, and they're the final version of the pedal I just showed you, like in a much smaller container. I mean, I'm treating that like an expensive hobby as well. So and I like it. I like it because I made the sound that I made, but the sounds that I make aren't for everybody. So
sure.
Yeah, I don't have high expectations. I'm having fun.
Nice.
Just a complete labor of love, man. That's
Yeah. I think for that first run too, I'm going to price everything like fairly conservatively, just like I do for this Holy stuff. Like I'm an unknown pedal builder. I just want to move some units and get people hearing them if they like them. Tell their friends about it. Like, that's how I'm gonna approach it. And
well, I'm gonna be hitting you up. Don't worry.
Cool, man. I want to make him special, man. You will not be disappointed.
Nice.
Like, I'm hyped. So
sweet.
That's
very
awesome.
Cool. Yeah. All right. Well, again, thank you so much, and it's been really fun talking to you.
Hey, pleasure's all mine. Fantastic.
Thank you very much, Tom.
All right, guys. Have a fantastic rest of your night.
Thanks.
You too.
Bye.
Have a great one. Bye.
I don't want a live band. Yeah. No, I don't want to play stadiums.